You of Talking Hoops. Yes, it is the basketball show, probably more unique than the ones that are out there. One is because we have Mr. Briscoe. You guys already know he's around the world, so that already makes it unique. Then we also have Coach Mac, PYT, the pretty young thing. And with us tonight, Taria Johnson, that's been added here for this evening. But there's an announcement that you guys will find out tomorrow on social media. So stay tuned because there's another announcement that'll be stated, and it might have to do something with an after the show. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But nonetheless, she is with us here this evening as we get into some good topics this evening, some fun topics, and someone made a choice that may have not been the wisest one. But nevertheless, they made a choice and then they will have to deal with the consequence. Also, thank you for everyone who tunes in on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the game over on AMP Radio, right here on broadstsouth.com, and over, of course, on our YouTube channel. Four different ways you can watch and listen into the show. But more importantly, thank you to the folks out in Spain, Brazil, Nigeria, uh, around the world that are now starting to come more and more entertained here within the network. And the good thing was we had some folks from Spain that tuned in to last week's show to have fun. And so the good thing is it continues to grow. We can't thank you guys and girls for your support, so we appreciate it. And with that being said, some of the headlines tonight will be that the WNBA playoffs begin, and who we believe, in our opinion, who could end up winning it all. Also, are the Las Vegas Aces on the way to becoming a dynasty? I believe I asked this question to Mr. Briscoe when we talked originally on the phone, and so we'll get into
Mhm.
that as well tonight. Also, the USA men's basketball team comes up short. They do walk away with the bronze, but it leads in also to the question of, will Canada, out of nowhere, that you guys know they love hockey. They, when the kids are born, they have skates on their feet and off they go. But this time, basketball seems to become the dominant sport in Canada. So the Toronto Raptors, if you guys remember, I guess I'll kind of start on the NBA side. We'll switch back over to the WNBA. You figured the Toronto Raptors came around and people thought, is it really going to make it as a northern team, an actual northern team north of the border? Are they going to be able to make it? And they end up winning, of course, the NBA championship with Nick Nurse. Now, thank you, the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. So thanks to Nick for agreeing to becoming our head coach. But I'm just wondering because again, Toronto, I don't think they ever expected to turn out the way they have, and year after year they do sellouts. So it's not just after winning the NBA championship, even not doing so well this past season, but they're on their way to becoming the rebirth. But will we start seeing the stock of players coming out of Canada now wanting to play with the home country team? So I will start off with that question and I will feed it off first to you, Mr. Briscoe, because I would love to know to get your take as you are the around the world specialist here on the network. And I would like to know, is now the born and bred being in Canada, does it make it more lucrative for more teams even to be designed in Canada?
Yes, it does because the Canadian athletes have been really good for a very long time. One guy that I know that I had an opportunity to be around and be with was Jamal McGlory. He was the first guy from Canada that I made contact with when I was with Nike and met his high school coach, and his high school coach became his advisor, and then uh, they both went to the University of Kentucky as a package deal. And Jamal, who they called the Big Cat, did a very good job. Let's look at it. There have been some outstanding players from Canada that have held their own. Uh, let's look at the guy who plays that won the NBA championship uh, with the Utah. Was it Utah? Yeah, the Utah team. They did very, very good. And we look at some of the other players that came out of Canada that have done real good in the U.S. And these guys are going back and playing on their Canadian national team.
Hmm.
Canada has a really good youth program that they started, and it's been going on for about 25, 30 years. And they've done a really good job in getting their athletes to play up to elite levels all the time. May it be high school, maybe college, and now in the pros. So yes, they're gonna get their people from the cities of the national level in Canada and play. And look what they did. Look what they did to the U.S. You know, Germany did the same thing. Lithuania did the same thing. And where's the U.S. now? Uh, they home, tears falling, and
Mhm.
LeBron James and the group are saying we're coming up there to help you guys, so that way the U.S. can go ahead at least be qualified and win a medal.
All right. Taria, before I hand it over to you, this is kind of a bonus for me tonight. My mom is actually tuning in tonight, so mom, thank you because she's out in New England, and I know she'll call me up and she'll tell me I watch your show, but I know sometimes it's long, but it's good to see my mom. So, mommy, bendiciones. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Uh, Coach Mack, in case you missed it, and Miss Johnson's gonna feed into it here in a second, but we were talking about as far as the Toronto men and the country itself now breeding homegrown athletes and wondering if they will remain now in Toronto, or Montreal, and then also does it mean now that we'll see maybe possibly expansion teams out of Canada? But I will give it to Treya first, which was a follow up to Ron, and then Coach the follow up.
Well, I definitely do think that Canada is making great strides when it comes to basketball. I think their population changing feeds into more basketball lovers that are starting to, become first and second generation in Canada, which adds to that. And not only that, but the Raptors are like top five when it comes to selling out tickets and getting people in seats to come watch basketball games. I think a large part of that back in 2008, 2009, when the NHL had a lockout, it drove a lot of fans to now go into to basketball, and they consistently were able to sell out games. And so I think that starting with the youth and going forward, I definitely think that the love for basketball and people wanting to watch basketball is definitely elevating. So I definitely expect to see the potential for expansion. Not only that, but they offer a great population to come to the games that a lot of these smaller cities like Charlotte and like OKC, don't have. So they definitely have that as a competitive edge on their side to want to expand. And not saying that more people equals more fans, but
Right.
essentially, when you just look at the possibilities of being able to expand, the people are there. The marketing will take place, and really the NBA teams really speak for themselves and market themselves. But I think it's a great opportunity there.
Coach Mack.
Yes, I definitely agree with her. Obviously, there's going to be room for expansion. The beauty that I'm liking about this is the noise that it's making, right?
Mhm.
So, because Canada is starting to, bring this uprise, now you have the US, okay? So, you have players like Stephen Curry, KD, LeBron James. Now they're like, hey, we're playing next year, all because of the way,
Mhm.
unfortunately, the USA presented themselves in this, but it's going to bring great competition. And with great competition, is going to bring easy marketing because obviously the competition is going to be there. So it's going to be great for the organization as a whole. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how, or the things that were birthed from this and beyond.
Now, Coach Mack, I'm going to have a follow up question to what you just said there because it also kind of posed a question. And is it, listen, we know USA basketball, the USA men and women when it comes to athletic sports, especially when it comes to the Olympics. We know we love to lead the way, just like any other country. But here in the US, we try to carry that on our shoulders just a little bit more and just get ourselves a little more worked up. So, is it a point now that other countries have figured us out, meaning that, okay, here's a style of play that they love to play and they stick with that, and we've caught up to them? And or has our men's team have a little cockiness now that's kind of starting to show through instead of the athletic competition side?
So with that, I believe I can't say they probably start to figure out. I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of foreign players now playing in NBA as well. So it's like they're accustomed to what we're used to. And with that, that brings exposure that tells how we play our game versus, the US being able to go over to other countries and play unless, you're someone like Dwight Howard who's playing in another country as you're living. Well, foreign
Mhm.
countries, they come to the US and play as they're living. So they get to be accustomed to our style of play. And with that, they learn what it is that we're accustomed to. Unfortunately, the situation is not vice versa. So now, yes, I can say that they have figured out the way we play our game.
Mr. Briscoe?
Let me add this. Let me add this to that before we move on.
Sure.
If you guys remember, the Vancouver Grizzlies was
Hmm.
out
Mhm.
of Canada, and now there's the Memphis Grizzlies. So
Mhm.
Canada has already had a couple of NBA teams, one on the east side and one on the west side. So for some reason, the Vancouver Grizzlies couldn't get it done, and Canada, say, hey, you're just not making profit. You're just not, having no fans. You have no players here. So, but I think they should try again because of the popularity of basketball and the trend and what it has turned into up in Canada. So that's what I wanted to add. Now, what was that other question, Angel?
It was between the men themselves, as far as the other teams, other countries being able to catch up on how we're playing our style of play, and also is it where the men in our teams are starting to show a little bit of cockiness instead of showing the athleticism in the game?
Well, that's a great question, and let me go back to why we started the Nike uh, program academies. It was because that the foreign guys were just playing a lot better, well fundamental than the American guys. So we wanted to find out how could we get to that level because the foreign guys they would just go to get up, work out, go to school, leave school, go work out again. And they was working on all that footwork drills. They were working on all that ball handling drills, the pivot drills, the up and under play drills, inside, outside. And the American kids would just go throw a ball out there, run up and down the court and play with their talent and skills. They didn't have any fundamentals. So that's why with Nike, we started having our by position camp because we had some of the top, not only college coaches, but NBA guys to come in to teach the fundamentals to the young players. But it looks like it hadn't caught up yet because the foreign guys still have their fundamentals down, know how to pick and roll, know how to give and go well, know how to get down and do that footwork real well up under the basket and around on the box, and they know how to shoot the threes extremely well. And spacing in the game is something that the Americans don't do well, but the foreign guys do extremely well. They know how to space, cut, give and go to the basket, and they know how to get to the free throw line. If you see in any foreign game that the U.S. is playing or any foreign team, they know how to get you in a foul trouble and get to the free throw line, and they'll wind up. One guy wind up shooting 10 free throws a game. The American guys, they don't
Hmm.
have that luxury of doing that. Every once in a while, you'll find somebody who can do that, but to me, that's one of the main keys of the game. It's getting to the free throw line, even though you can make 2 and 3 point shots.
So,
See,
Ron, I
that's
have a question for you. Being that you were a Nike evaluator and you guys started pretty much recruiting, let's say, eighth grade. Speaking on fundamentals and how key that is for the game of basketball and how foreign players basically thrive off of that. Knowing that fundamentals is something that could be lacking starting at an early age for basketball players, do you see that causing a huge effect later on within the game of basketball versus than what it is now?
Yeah, I think it caused a big effect later on. As far as if I'm understanding your question, as far as improving a young player's game, yes,
Hmm.
because once you get the foundation down, once you learn the fundamentals, the basic fundamentals of anything. You have it. It's just like going to school and learning how to have the basic fundamentals of spelling, the basic fundamentals of learning math. Once you get the fundamentals down, it becomes easier and better. All you have to do is to know how to use it. Once you get down to learning the basics of a jump stop, once you get down to learning how to do a bounce pass or a chest pass or overhead pass, once you get down to learning how to pivot with your left foot and your right foot at the right time, once you learn how to use good head fakes and blocking out, which is something that's a lost art these days. Once you learn how to get those parts of the games down, the game, in my opinion, should become a simple game, and the game to where you're playing to where the guy's got to figure out what you're going to do next because he's going to look at you go like, well, if I do this, he's going to jab step me and go by me. If I come up on him, he's going to go left or right by me. If I stay off of him, he's just going to pull up in my face. So when you have guys on defense questioning what you're going to do next, that's when you know you got them, and that's when you know you got the game. And it's not really hard. It's just basic fundamentals of the game of basketball, which is going to help you later down the game. And the more you learn about the game, the more you get smarter about the game, the more you understand the game, the more easy it becomes and become a winner.
No, I'll say two things here. One is hello, sis. Thanks for tuning in as well. See, it's a family affair tonight. My mom, my sister tuning in, so I appreciate it. And the other thing too, this is why I want you guys to understand something. First of all, thank you for joining us here at 15 past the hour on Talking Hoops, the debut of the show tonight with Coach Mac PYT with Ron Briscoe. And tonight, Tria Johnson, part of the show tonight. But again, as I said, there's going to be something else debuting later on that I will tell you guys maybe at the end of the show tomorrow on social media. So you have to tune in and find out. But the more important part here is this is why you guys and girls need to grab your popcorn, because here's what I'm envisioning when I have our analysts and around the world talking. You got to put yourself in the middle of the basketball court and just watching Coach Mac do her thing, Ron talk about the executions of the game. And it's like, if you guys envision it in your head, you can actually watch the fundamentals as Ryan's talking about here, but you can watch that visually in your head. So one day, what I would love to do is go to a game with both Coach Mac and Mr. Briscoe just for the breakdown element of it, because it would be, listen, I would just take a chartboard and I would be just like the coach. When coach comes up with a whiteboard, all right, here's where you're going. You're going up in the perimeter. You're going to go up in the key. I would love that. I'm just saying. So if you guys love the show tonight, I'm telling you, come back week in, week out, because the analysis that you will get from both of these individuals is just going to make you want to stick around because they bring so much to the game itself. So, you know, it's interesting to me because, again, Canada continues to move up and make progress. Again, it's leading the sport in Canada. And like I said, I mean, you look at Wayne Gretzky, again, great hockey legend. That's what everybody grew up with in Canada. So for basketball to surpass it, it just goes to show you how much of a difference it's come around. And, you know, the NBA for a couple of years went down a path where they were starting to lose the fan base because of the product. And some of it had to do with the players, but some of these teams just weren't understanding what the game of basketball was. Now, in recent years, it's picked back up again to now where people are starting to get that edge, that itch this time of the year, where it's like, okay, we know the season's right around the corner. WNBA playoffs are beginning. We know we start hearing grumblings in this year about the NBA. So it's good to see that finally that mix is coming around, and one is starting to feed really well off the other. So hopefully we'll see how this NBA season happens. And also, with that being said, if you guys look at the basketball league, they now have the Basketball Super League also starting in Canada. So if you're talking about, you have the NBA, you have the G League, and then you have the BSL, TBL. And so if you guys are looking to get your game up to get to that level of the G League, get to that level of the NBA, by all means, take a look as David Magley is on tour all around the U.S. trying to put the teams together for the Basketball Super League. So it's going to be great. And that's who the guest was supposed to be this evening, but he is tonight enjoying a dinner with some folks. And so unfortunately, he couldn't make it. Maybe we'll have him on another show so he can kind of give us more of an input as far as what they plan on doing. And Ryan Neff says, fundamentals, where are those? Man, well,
What did he say? What are those?
Yeah.
Does he play basketball?
Yeah, well, because
Yes.
so we talk about it a lot on our show, and we talk about the fundamentals. I mean, you look at baseball, right? They always tell you, you take a knee down, make sure that glove is against your body so that ball doesn't roll by you. But what ends up happening? A lot of these players, they get paid millions upon millions of dollars and forget the fundamentals. So that's why I know that's why Ryan brings it up, and I also know he brings it up on his college show. But again, I'm just dying to see what's going to happen. USA basketball, by no means whatsoever. I think it's going to be a while before anyone surpasses USA basketball. But it's good that they get challenged because we saw what the Dream Team many years ago do the same thing. They got challenged. They put the right team together,
Mhm.
and they have exceeded a lot of the expectations. So I'm pretty sure we're not done with that yet. And Brian follows up with fundamentals are a lost art. We hope not. We hope not. But
That's what that's what I thought. I thought he was kidding when he said fundamentals, and I realized what he was saying after that. Like fundamentals, like ooh, what guy plays with fundamentals is they just go out there and just show that talent and skill level. But now I
Yeah.
get what he's saying.
Yes.
Absolutely. I feel like American basketball culture has really moved towards highlight culture. And so it's
Mm.
less about fundamentals and about actually knowing the game, being able to run a play, being able to actually get down and play defense and get a stop, and about okay, I'm doing this move, watch me do this fancy move because it's going on a highlight.
Hmm.
And that's what
Hmm.
we've moved towards is highlight culture.
Yes, unfortunately,
And
we
that's true.
have moved to that culture because I mean, that's all you see. Social media, social media. Do you have your Twitter page up? Do you have this? Do you have it? Like, when did this get so complicated? Basketball used to just be very basic. You go and watch a player play, or you find out about them, through an evaluator or someone as such, and you make your analysis about the player. But now it's like if you don't have a whole social media profile, who are you? Unfortunately.
Hmm. And another thing that I like that we're talking about is one of my good friends, John Lucas. Just over the weekend, he's had his Be Elite camp, and he has people all the time going out to evaluate players. I have done it several years for John, and nominated players to his camp. And the thing that he teaches is fundamentals. John's he was an All American at Maryland, and not only basketball, but he was an All American tennis player, and he was the number one pick for the Rockets. And John loves doing what he does, and he loves helping the young kids, eighth grading up, some sixth graders, to come and work out with him so that he can teach them the fundamentals of the game and let them know that they need to play hard every time they step between the lines. He shows them the right way, and if they come out there with all that highlight stuff, he'll stop them and tell them we don't need that. Uh, you're not here for that. We're not here for you to go behind your back 3 or 4 times between your legs and yo-yo and all that. We're not here for that. We're here for basic layups. If you slam it, you slam it, but we ain't here for all that other stuff. We're here to teach you how to play basketball the right way. And I have to tip my hat to him about that.
I'm gonna have
So
a
let me ask you guys, I'm sorry, let me ask you guys this question because I know we're talking about the players, but what is your input on certain coaches making highlight videos on how to do certain, skill work, footwork, or, shooting and things such as that? Do you feel like that the coaches are playing a major role into this whole social media platform with the players and making it worse, or do you think it's making it better?
Let me answer that for you because over the years I have met some really good fundamental developmental basketball instructors or teachers or coaches, however they want to put the title on their name. Uh, Gannon Baker comes to mind. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Gannon Baker, but Gannon Baker is one of the global basketball developers, instructors, where he goes all over the world. People want him to come and teach their youth, their college players, and their pro players how to develop their game better. From footwork, which is one of the main things I look for in a player, is if they got really good footwork, that's a plus for them. The rest of it, we can make it work. But Gannon does it. Another guy out of Atlanta named Bo Bell, who's has kids from the sixth grade on up. He's been doing this a very long time. He's an ex NBA player, and he does an outstanding job on helping develop kids how to play the game of basketball. You have these different people in different places who have been doing it for a long time. It's just that a lot of people probably hadn't heard about them. But those are guys that we invited to all of our Nike academies that are experts to help the youngsters to understand what's going on. And when you look at the NBA now, and probably one of the reasons the NBA is getting better is because now you got some international players in the NBA,
Hmm.
and you'll get that international flavor as far as that they showing up that you can't stop them, because they have good footwork, they're good passes, they don't turn the ball over, they don't do all that fancy stuff, they play basic basketball, fundamental basketball, and they come out to where now they MVPs, they scoring champs, they rebounding champs, they doing triple doubles and stuff like that, and it's foreign guys because they have that basic fundamental basketball. But I just wanted to add what I know about guys that are coaches that are developing players, and that's just a couple of names. I could go on, but I think I said enough.
No, but no, it's a great point though, as far as when it comes to these coaches and it comes to the social media as well, because you do tend to wonder, and I know, listen, all of us, we will love to be all stars, as whether being broadcast and media, athletes, engagement speakers, we all want to be all stars. The problem where it becomes is if you're telling your kids, I need you to be on social media, but I'm going to outdo you on social media. But I also want you to pay attention to what's going on social media. Oh, and by the way, I don't want to make it about social media. What message are you saying? 'Cause now I'm confused. It's like, coach, are we playing or are we talking about social media? It's almost like Allen Iverson. We talking about practice. We ain't talking about the game. We talking about practice. So it makes you
We
wonder.
talk about practice. I like
It makes you wonder about the same thing. Are we talking about the game? Or are we talking about social media? Because we do see a lot of coaches out there where they're just,
Mhm.
okay, here's what you're going to block out. Here's the 1, 2, 3, right? One is, am I watching you? Or are you trying to explain to me what we're supposed to be doing here? So that was a great question, Coach Mack, because again, it does make you wonder, like, are these coaches out here truthfully to show these young kids on what they need to do, and or are they doing it on social media? And the follow-up to that one is your son, coach, is coming up in the game now. So
Mhm.
I would love to know what your advice is to your son, because it's got to be one of those things. I wish I could say, like my mom, she believed in anything that we did and she coached us as
that.
a parent, but it's different because she
Mhm.
never played a sport. You being an athlete yourself, being a coach, like your son has to look at it like, man, my mom, she knows what she's talking about. She knows she's going to have my, at least my best interest forward. But what do you convey to your son to explain to him how to become that better athlete?
So yeah, that is tough being a parent, being an athlete, being a coach. I tell people the reason why I can't record a game because I can't coach, I can't cheer, and I can't do all and record the game all at the same time. It's too much. It's stressful. Um, so with that being said, my son and I, what I do with him, because for me and most players too, basketball is about 80% mental, 20% physical. So I like to discuss the game with him and, critique him versus, whatever he's done during the game, after the game. But I also allow him to initiate the conversation. So I don't ever approach him right after the game unless it's something that he wants to talk about. So again, yeah, we do have a lot of conversations about things that should be done, things that should not be done. And it drives me crazy because you have a lot of high school coaches who coach but don't know how to teach. There is a difference.
Hmm.
That has been my biggest
Hmm.
cry, you know, even as a player. And now that my son is a player, everybody wants to coach, but nobody wants to take the time to teach. And what
Hmm.
I try to teach him is the correct way to do things. I'm like, you have to listen to your coach, you have to do the right thing, but at the end of the day, play smart, be smart, because they're not going to yell at you if you're scoring, right? So with him, again, we discuss the correct way to do things. Again, I let him talk to me when he's ready, and as I'm critiquing the game, I don't ever yell. I don't, make any gestures or anything like that during the game, because
Hmm.
I want him to trust himself, for one, two, to listen to his coach. I never go to the coach and tell them how I feel, even though I disagree with them. I will never do that because I understand what it feels like to be a coach, and you never know what
Hmm.
decisions you may make in that moment. So that's one thing out there to
Hmm.
parents. Definitely don't go to the coach, especially after the game. Definitely not the right time to do that. Um, but yeah, just still talk to your kids. If you see that it's something that's not correct and it's not correct, talk to them about it. But let them be able to make that decision. Let them have that conversation with their coach on how they feel something should be done or should not be done. So yeah, just watching it, it does drive me nuts sometimes because when he gets to college, I know there is going to be a lot of fundamental work. And as Ronnie was stating, fundamentals is something that's truly lacking in high school basketball, and it's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
you can tell because the talent level, it seems as if it's declining by the year or by the generation, shall I say.
Mhm.
And I wish that we could just get back to the basics. I feel like social media does play a huge role in the way players are being developed or lack of development, shall I say. So it would be great if there was some type of way that we could get back to the basics and teach the kids fundamental basketballs and then, just progress from there.
Now,
Ryan.
question, Coach Mack, how do you keep him sound in those fundamentals with, like you said, not feeling like you're overstepping and not pushing and not wanting to, you know, um, bring that conversation and not overstep what the coach is teaching when that's the current culture,
The key
especially
thing is,
knowing what he's going to face at that next
yeah.
level, that those fundamentals will come into play, that you do need to know
Mhm.
these things, and but that's may not be what is being taught currently.
Right. I've been very, very blessed to have been around old school coaches. I can call them that now, and I love it. I'm so grateful for them, so thankful for them. The key thing is making sure that your child, your player, is with the right person. And I have been through multiple people. If I don't think it's right, if I don't feel like this team is right, I'm not staying. I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to leave,
Mhm.
because I'm very big on fundamentals because I know that it will most definitely help him as he grows, and that's what he's going to need is that foundation. If you don't have that foundation, you're not going to last. And again, the main thing is that I make sure that he's in the right hands and that he's being taught the correct way, the basics. And it may not be the best thing, but at least it's the right thing.
Mhm.
Right. No. I,
I agree. I agree.
I'm going to keep on this topic here for about an additional minute or so because it's a great topic. And Ron, I'm going to kind of throw this kind of your way because you've again been around the world and as an evaluator, you've seen many things. But Coach Mack brings up a great point with the old school as far as coaches compared to the new school coaches. Now, of course, back in our days when we were 21, just 2 years ago, the big thing was that we coach would get in your face. That's just the way it
Don't
was.
laugh.
They would get in your face and they would just, they would tell you all the different things that you probably don't want to hear. But the reason why they do it
Hmm.
because they want to enforce it without,
Hmm.
basically grabbing you and throwing you all over the place. That's just the way it was before. Versus now we see a whole different culture where it's like, okay, I'm gonna explain to you how this works. Let me know if I'm being a little bit too rough, and if I'm not enough being cordial. It's just it's a whole different world. So why the transition has been where it used to be in your face without physically touching you, just being your face and getting a point across to now where you almost have to do a sign this waiver and throw me 5 emojis to let me know which emoji you like.
That's a good question, and it's because of the lifestyle and the culture the young people now live is totally different than the lifestyle and the culture that during our time when we came up. I mean, I played mostly outside. I didn't play in the gym and the air conditioning. A lot of people that I grew up with, we played in the park every day. And that's where we learned to play ball. Uh, when we played in the gym was mainly when we went to school. Uh, and then after that, we went outside and played. Today, there's not many people that are playing outside. They play inside, air
Mm.
conditioned. Everything is comfortable. They relax. And now I don't think it's like they're entitled, so to say, but they'll look at it and say, like, I don't have to take this from this guy. He's talking to me all rough and stuff. I'm just gonna quit and go on, go to somebody else. And that's when the challenge of having a purpose for playing the game is lost. Because you have a
Mm.
lot of guys that uh, they can just want to get by instead of getting better.
Mm.
And a lot of people want to take the easy way out. The least path of resistance. You'll see a lot of them going like, man, y'all ran 10 laps. I only ran 8. The why I got on the backside over there and waited for y'all to come around again. That's what you have. There's the competition for some of them are like, yeah, I'm going to go out here and get this done. But the competition for others are not like that. So it's just a matter of how you grow up. And like Coach Mack said, like Coach Johnson said, it's a matter of being able to get the basic fundamentals down, to learn how to do things the right way, to have a purpose about what you're going to do and how you're going to get there, and to go out and don't cheat on yourself. And if you're cheating on yourself, you're cheating on your team. So don't do that. So that's the way I see it, as far as the way it is today with a lot of young adults.
It is no, it's a good point because again, it's such a whole different society, and
Mm,
even with my full time job, it's different. So myself and the owner of the company, being from Philly, New York, and it's rare. Let me just let everybody know in the sports world, it's rare for Philly and New York to actually agree on a lot of things. But it's because it's the competitive nature, even when you work. So sometimes we get into conversations when you live in the Northeast, it sounds like you're arguing, and all it is you're fast talking. And because you do that, the folks down south are like, why are they arguing so much? We're not arguing. It's fast. We're trying to get our points across really quick. We come up with the game plan, it's executed. So it's different, even on the different sides of the culture where you come from. Uh, Ronnie
mhm,
Gent, which was just on with us on a 200th episode on Sunday, comes from Louisville, comes from the NFL. Now, when he talks to his kids, he still talks to them just like he was in the NFL and lets the parents
mhm,
know, hey, by the way, this isn't a glorified team where you're going to get everything that you want. Either the kids are listening to me or they're out. So he takes the old
mhm.
school approach, but again, without any hands or anything else like that. He voices his opinion a lot stronger, which makes the players understand, like coach means business. So it's just a whole just different society which are almost like everywhere you go now you have to be careful in what you say because even good morning has become an issue where it never used to be an issue. Like before you walk up to somebody, hey, good morning, how are you? What's that supposed to mean? Huh? What do you mean? So
Come on.
it's just
You're right. You're right. You're
yeah,
right.
it's a different society. So it's again, we can go on this topic forever because it's such a great topic to come to, especially when it comes to fundamentals. As Ryan had brought up two things. One was the NFL now stands for the No Fundamental League, and then he follows up with kids today wouldn't survive old style camps, and so basketball camps, which is
Mm.
it's the truth. But as we're getting here, the second half of the hour, about 43 minutes in, 40 minutes in actually, so about 20 minutes left here on the show. And again, if, in case you guys are tuning in on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the game, we do appreciate it from all around the world as the debut tonight of Talking Hoops with Ron Briscoe, Coach PYT Mac, and again, Just dropping hints here, but Mrs. Johnson, who's with us this evening, there could be something coming up. I don't know. Like I said, after the show, I don't know. I'm just saying, but I will throw that again, once again, as a teaser. But she is with us here tonight with the discussion forum. And the other thing as well with the WNBA, and I guess before I get there, because there was a story that came out not too long ago with an NBA player. So I want to make sure we put this on this side of the house first before we go a little bit into the WNBA side. But Kevin Porter Jr., life, folks, is about choices. When you wake up in the morning, you choose to have a good day, you choose to have a bad day. For the Pennsylvania escapee, he made the choice of busting out of jail in order to get back into jail all over again. So, it's the choices that you make. But Kevin Porter just signed a $15 million guarantee. And I want people to understand this. I'm not talking about this as in, wow, what a way to blow the $15 million. No, what a way to blow your life on a choice you chose to make, which wasn't that deep, but you chose to make it that deep. So, uh, first of all, our hearts and our souls go out to his girlfriend because obviously we don't ever want to
Of
see
course.
anyone in any kind of abusive manner whatsoever. But bad choice. So I'll start with you, Coach Mack. Kevin Porter decided on a moment's whim, I guess I will say, to make probably the ugliest choice ever in his life. To bounce back from this, what would even be attempted in his life to be able to come back from the situation he has just put himself in?
Yeah, I don't think there's any comeback to that, especially since the NBA is going to investigate it. And honestly, this is probably not the first time this has occurred. It's just the first time he may have gotten caught, unfortunately. Um, I'm pretty sure the NBA is going to be very firm about their decision. So unfortunately, this wasn't a great choice that he had made, and this is going to affect him for the rest of his life.
Yep, it is. Mrs. Johnson.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Life is definitely about choices and, um, being in control of the choices. And just that fast, how one choice that you make in a split second can have a lifelong effect. Like, this is something that is going to follow him. It will forever be attached to his name. And I agree with Coach Mack. How do we even begin to talk about a comeback? I just don't see how that would even where you would even start with that. And I definitely agree that the NBA is going to, and I don't want to say make an example out of him, but
Yeah.
I definitely think that they're not going to take this lightly. And and it sends a message like, this is not the first time. You wouldn't imagine something of that magnitude that this was the first time. But I definitely think that mental health is something that needs to be taken seriously, and taken into account, and being in control of our own decisions and not allowing outside factors control the decisions that we make, because just that fast life can change.
Yep. Mr. Briscoe.
Well, consequences add value when the right choices are made. And he didn't add any value to the choice he made. And the consequences are going to now be something that he's going to be sitting down thinking about for a long, long time. And hopefully, he'll learn from this mistake and he'll get better at it. He'll be able to go and volunteer at different places to where it can help him to teach other young men or just guys that have the problems of anger. And he can improve himself. He can just go out and say, hey, what I did, it didn't help at all. I was going down the right road. I was doing the right thing. But of course, if you never know. I mean, he could have been drinking and alcohol that got him to going in the direction that he went. But anyway, regardless, that was not needed. And hopefully he'll learn from his lessons and improve and put this all behind.
Yeah. Well, again, life is about choices, folks. So make sure you make the right choice Whether and then listen, if you get yourself in a sticky situation, it's better to I know a lot of people say it's man, if I were just told the truth. Well, you know what? Sometimes the truth hurts. It's the same way. Someone can ask you, "Hey, how do I look?" Well, it's your choice. Either you can tell them honestly and let them know, or they step out the house like, "Why would you leave me out the house this way?" I don't know. So, it's about those choices because that's the worst thing. My fiance, she knows over a studio beat, and she'll ask me something, and I will tell her, how's this look? And I'll tell her the truth because why would I want her to look foolish if I know she looks foolish inside a house? It just doesn't make any sense. So, it's just that's life. I just thought I'd throw that in there. But coming into the WNBA, which I think it's been, and stand me corrected if I'm wrong here, but probably the biggest and I would say the best season out of the WNBA. I think a lot of it has to do, obviously, with some acquisitional trades during the offseason, on top of where you have now the Las Vegas Aces. They're becoming the dominant team in the WNBA. So you add that drama. Like I said, you have it in the NBA. Now you're starting to get it in the WNBA, but the Las Vegas Aces are going places. And it then begs the different question is, are they becoming now a dynasty? Even if they win the second one in a row, which it seems like that's the way that the Aces are going to go. They play at 10 o'clock. What is it? I believe tonight. It'll be of
tonight,
Hmm.
course.
tonight.
Yep. So that'll be at least about a couple of minutes from now when that game will start. So let's just say they beat Chicago here in the first round and they make it to the second one. Are we starting to truly believe that possibly, just possibly, the Las Vegas Aces could be now a dynasty team here in the WNBA? And I'll feed it off to you, Mr. Briscoe, first.
Well, I'm gonna let you know. After they played this first round tonight, because I saw the Vegas team play just the other night, and I know that Coach Mack and I have been going back and forth watching these WNBA games, texting each other, saying like, "Wow, did you see that?" She said, "Yeah, I saw that." But the WNBA has been a league now that where I'm really getting interested in it. In the last couple of years, I have turned my eye to the TV to say, hey, I got something to watch. I don't have college basketball. I don't really have NBA basketball. Of course, NFL and college football is coming into the scene. But the WNBA has caught my eyes because I love the way the women play. They play fundamental basketball. They know how to pass. They don't over dribble. They hustle. They play defense. They rebound. They do a lot of things well. And I really like that. And the talent level in the WNBA has went up a whole lot. I mean, just think the attendance records is all time high. People can't wait to get in there. I'm gonna start going to some WNBA teams. If they had a WNBA team in New Orleans, I'd be right there. I'd be a ticket holder, season ticket holder for them. But I'm really
Hey now.
enjoying it.
Yeah.
Hey now, I'm really enjoying it, and I think the Aces are going to be really good. They got one of the best players in the league on that team, MVP, and I think Becky has done a really good job
Mhm.
with this team, and she knows what she has, and she has some players playing well. But the sky is hey, you can't look over the sky down
Yeah.
there. Chicago sky is really good. So I'll let you know next week what I think about those aces, and about the rest of the teams that are playing during the first round in the WNBA.
All right. Coach Mack.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I am Team Aces. Okay, by the way, I do think go ahead and put that out there. I do think that that it will be a dynasty, and one of the reasons is because they're bringing in they have players like Asia Wilson, and let's not forget about the vet Candace Parker. She's out right now due to an injury. So if they continuously bring players in such as that, I mean, wow, we're talking short of what 5 years, and then also the point guard, Chelsea Gray. Let's not forget about her. I mean,
Ooh,
if you
have
have
to say it
someone
since
like Stephen,
Mhm.
yes, if you have someone like Stephen Curry, who was at the game, by the way, vouching for her, I mean, come on now. You got to give it to the girls. So I'm going for the Aces. I do think that the match will probably be between the Aces and the New York Liberty, mainly because, and I'm just basing this off of stats because the Aces I think have averaged about 92.8 points a game, and then New York Liberty I think is second with 89.3 points a game. So I think it's probably going to
Mhm.
be between those two, and then you got my girl Brianna Stewart. I am a UConn fan, so I mean it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
not be my girl Stu. Looking for her, and then you also have Courtney Vandersloot. And then you
Mhm.
have Jonquel Jones, who was the MVP about a couple of years ago. I can't think of what it was right off the top of my head. So, I mean, you have two top contenders here that I think that was is probably going to end up being in the finals. Um, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes, I definitely have to agree. My only concern with the Aces, with Candace being injured, is that out of the six games that they've lost, five of those were on the road. So there is definitely something about road games that they have had an issue with by losing five out of the six on the road. And what does that look like with Candace being out? But based off stats, because I am a numbers doesn't lie person, I do have to agree that the Aces, I mean, their lineup is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Their roster is crazy, and being able to build around the core that they have with the coach that they have, uh, I can only imagine what it's going to look like, especially coming off of winning the championship last year. I do
Mhm.
agree that I think the Liberty will be in the finals with them. I definitely think it's going to come down to the wire. It's really hard for me to pick who I think is going to win as of today, simply because you really can't count out the New York Liberty. I mean, their lineup as well. They have a roster that is similar to the Aces. I mean, they have a really nice roster over there. They are playing really great basketball right now. So it'll definitely come down to the wire, I think, between those two. But again, with the Aces, what is the road games going to be like for them, and are they going to be able to overcome that without having their vet out there right now?
Well, let me put that one up there because it feels like we're going to school here at this point because it's been we talk about the topics being hot tonight, but it's just I feel like I'm in school. I'm gonna just sit back the rest of the show. I'm still grabbing my popcorn that I have ready. As I told you guys last week, over Redenbacher dropped off the trailer. I still got plenty left over because it's been, this is where you get to learn the fundamentals of the game. And by the way, I'm gonna have to get into that text thread too when you guys end up watching the game because this is, it makes it interesting where people, if you really start getting into the game, you start watching it. And let me put this out there as well. If you think that the ladies are not bringing it as much as the men, you guys better stay tuned in because it is for real when it comes to the WNBA and what these athletic women are doing. Trust me, if I walk up to the court, the backboard, we'd be laughing and like, really, bro? You're coming to play? Okay, let's see this. So it's just because the WNBA is becoming better. They will get to one point as far as the marketing, the sales, it will get better. Everything in time gets better. The NBA, it didn't happen overnight. Everybody knows this. It takes time. So that's the beauty about it. And I think there's going to be expandable markets as well because I did hear that Philly may end up getting a team. Now, of course, I'm not back in Philly, but being the hometown, I would love to root on a WNBA team just because I know it's going to be so blue collared and it's going to be, plus we get to play New York. And listen, at Philly, when it comes to Sixers, Knicks, everybody knows it all day. We're talking smack. So I would love to see if Philly actually gets an expansion team as well. And then you have um, Atlanta, Dallas, which I think their first game will be no, excuse me, Friday. Today's Wednesday, Friday. So
Mhm.
they have their
Mhm.
game coming up on Friday, 8:30. Washington and New York Liberty. And okay, let me get the picks for that one. I will start out, Coach Mac, between Washington, New York. Who moves on in that series?
New York, hands down. New York. Like there is no question about that. And I'll say mainly because you have five players from the Liberty that actually scores in double figures versus
Mhm.
Washington, you got about two players. Well, for New York, you got Brianna Stewart, okay? You have Courtney Vandersloot. You have John Quill Jones. Like, come on now. It's like, what we doing? What we doing here? Let's play the game. Let's get it over with and let's move on.
The
And we're done.
majority wins.
And we're
Look, I
done.
ditto that. I ditto exactly what she said and exactly the same team. So I ditto. So, coach, so Miss Johnson, it's on you now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do agree. Like I said, I'm a numbers person, I'm a stat person, and shout out to my college coach for really just always ingraining in my head numbers don't lie. And that is one thing that you could take away from the Liberty. I mean, I definitely think that it is going to be a challenge for teams, and they will have to bring their best game against Liberty and the Aces if they want to advance forward in the playoff series. They will have to come with their best basketball. But, and I don't like to count anybody out, because that's one thing that I love about basketball is it can be anybody's game. It's whoever's ready to come play and who's ready to bring it.
All right. Yeah, I think we're going to develop.
Another thing I want to add, Angel, and is barring injuries too. Now, I mean, everything's going right, but if an injury, takes place with one of the top players on one of these teams, then you got to refocus and reevaluate.
Yeah, it's true. Hey, I think we're going to come up with a sports betting app. Obviously, we're not taking in money, folks. So that we're not talking money here. We're just going to come up with the Talking Sports Betting app, and we'll see as we progress throughout the season here for the WNBA. Then, of course, when the NBA season starts. Because listen, I think all things being said, I think Coach Mack, Ron, I could be wrong. I think Coach Mack might end up leading on the wins, but that's why we're going to start the Talking Sports betting app. We'll just throw out there. Speaking of social media, we'll just throw it out there and just see what you guys.
There you go.
We'll have fun with it, and then see what where it comes out to at the end of it. So as we're coming up here in the final about 2 minutes here of the show, we also have. Let's see. We talked about Atlanta, Dallas. Also Chicago, Las Vegas Aces. We talked about them as well. And then you got Minnesota and Connecticut. So. That's a good one. Connecticut Sun. That is a good one. Miss Johnson, I'll start out with you with that one. Who wins that series?
Oh, that is a tough one. That is a tough one. I might have to take Connecticut on this one.
Okay. Coach Mack?
I'm going to go with Connecticut, mainly because of what they're averaging. So they're about 82.7 points per game. You got Minnesota that's 80.2. But with Connecticut, you got my girl Alyssa Thomas, who's, by the way, is in the talks of the MVP contender. So you have Alyssa, Asia, and then you also have Brianna Stewart. So those are the three that are being talked about MVP. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Connecticut on this one.
All right, Mr. Briscoe.
Well, didn't Connecticut play the Lynx tonight?
It is tonight. Yes. And matter of fact, I think they're playing now. They were the first game.
Playing now.
Yep, they're down by. Let's see, they're down by 14.
Oh,
Connecticut is.
The Lynx are. Connecticut's up by 14.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure because I was going to go with Connecticut until I wanted to know what the score was going to be. So look, we all in the same boat. We know we number people. Numbers don't lie. So we got to go with the numbers. Hey, come on, Angel. Connecticut, come on. Don't lie.
Right, it's fine. Maybe, and as we wrap up the show here, you guys now, of course, the legend, which is James Brown. You know how James Brown used to come up on stage and just as he gets ready to end his number, they used to put the jacket on him. He would just wing it off.
The cape on him.
The cape. Right. So when they were put on him, then he would come back and he would entertain the crowd again. I need to find someone to be with Coach Mack when she puts out the stats so she can get the number stats cape. Someone can put it on her just so she can whisk it off and let everybody know what all the stats are.
Don't get us started. Please, Angel, don't get us started. Leave her alone, man. Leave her alone. Don't open that can of worms, man. Leave those worms in that can. Because if they get out of the can and get on the ground, they're going to start finding some answers. That's what she's going to do. Leave her alone, bro.
never know. It could make it for an interest. Well, I got to think about that one. We'll make it part of the segment as we get along with it. But I think we'll just make a lot of fun. So
Look, you can do it, but don't say I didn't warn you.
that'll work. That will work. Well, with that being said, today we thank everyone for tuning in here. The debut of Talking Hoops, and I kept putting a teaser out there. And do I release the teaser, or do I save it and put it out there for social media tomorrow? Mrs. Johnson, what do you think?
Well, Angel, I think I always believe it's always good to give people something to look forward to.
Okay. So if you guys have been hearing a little bit of hints called the after show, that might be in relation next week, right after this show. So I will leave it with that. And I will leave it also with Mrs. Johnson. So I'll leave that teaser out there because there will be an after show. And you wonder what it'll end up being? Find out, because it will be released out there on social media. So with that all being said, I can't thank Mrs. Johnson enough for joining us here this evening, along with Coach Mac.
Thank you.
With Mr. Briscoe around the world. For my producer over at Studio B, we thank you all for tuning in and Talking Hoops. You guys can catch this show every single week here live on Wednesday, borrowing, of course, something happening. I don't know, like we all get called up to the NBA or WNBA, who knows? But barring anything else that's happening, it'll be here Wednesday nights live. You guys can also watch it on broadscsouth.com under the live shows. And if you missed a live show, you can always hear the replay right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, and also on Broad Street South. You guys just look for Talking Hoops, and you can watch the replay. Thank you for everyone tuning in. I saw the numbers go up tonight. I do appreciate everyone who tuned in this evening, again, from around the world. And we can't thank you enough as the games are commencing right now. Once again, Connecticut is up in the lead, so I'll leave that with the teaser for tonight. So we will see you all come next week. Again, thank you all for tuning in here on live show and also on Sports Radio 102.9. So yeah, click in on Sports Radio 102.9 from The Game. Any last words from anybody?
Thanks
Thank you
for
for having
everything.
me.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on, Ms. Johnson. We really appreciate you. Did a great job.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. You guys have really given me a great laugh tonight.
That's what it's all about, having fun.
All right, everyone. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Briscoe.
We let our hair down on this show, girl.
Yeah, we definitely
I'll
did.
leave you with that.
That's a good way to wrap up the segment, that's for sure. So thank you, Dave, once again to everyone tuning in. We'll catch you guys back here live next week, 8 p.m., 7 Central. Have a great night.